Still same setting, still same day. Now we're on to how to rank a basketball team. And this episode gets slightly better with... It's a little better than Halloween. Halloween's, I'd say, mediocre. I put that on a level of mediocre. As for a basketball team, I put that on a level of moderate. I didn't have a high opinion of it before. Nowhere near high opinion. Surprisingly enough, it's interesting how a Casey and Stevie episode ended up being poor, and one of them ended up being pretty good, and the other one ended up being just moderate. This is moderate. This is the moderate one. In some ways, there's things that maybe a secret agent could have done in here that could help to make it work better. So here's the plot. Casey's system, so as to avoid having to do a sport in gym, which the perfs have been applying to, has completely collapsed. Because the principal figured out that the volleyball team didn't exist. The volleyball team they were all supposed to be on didn't exist. Thus, they have to do a real sport now. Stevie persuades Casey to join the basketball team she is captain of, which is pretty much the school's basketball team. And at the same time as that, Molly and Grace choose basketball, but then Molly forms a basketball team called Perf Army, which she intends to make compete against the school's team, Screaming Vikings. Screaming Vikings, what a name. Especially the little, yell they do whenever they get excited. Screaming Vikings! Just yelling it out of the blue, kind of. And you get a subplot, and so then Casey ends up being surprisingly good for a rookie, for somebody who doesn't like sports. And she ends up outshining Stevie, and to a degree. However, it's not because that's not the reason why Stevie ends up being upset. The reason for it is because that means if she's doing all the work, it's not a team effort anymore. And at the same time as that, it culminates into a practice Gravity 5 has, in which, basically enough, Casey asks them to not play so loudly so that she can hear herself better. Now, well, it wasn't obviously implied that, well, actually it was, that her selfishness was getting the better of her again, and that she didn't, she wasn't understanding the value of the team effort, and maybe Stevie overreacts just a little. At the same time, she's right about it all. Probably wasn't the best circumstances either, if this is supposed to be on Casey's defense. So they end up eventually playing the Perf Army, and Casey does attempt to make more of a team effort, but then, actually, it's not until the end when, well, first off, let me go by explaining that she wants Casey to play her hardest and her best because she wants to beat Molly, but Stevie wants this. And it's interesting how, even Stevie's so, even though Stevie doesn't care a lot about what other people think, it shows how, she's somewhat starved for attention in the sense that, in a way, she does still care, even if she doesn't show it a lot. She doesn't try and dwell on it a lot. And the fact that even negative unwanted attention from Andy Bartlett was still good attention to her. And she kind of missed it when it went away. So eventually, by the end, Casey doesn't have a good shot, and she has to pass the ball to Stevie, who then scores and wins the game against the Perf Army. Molly doesn't even touch the ball. I mean, when it's passed to her, she pushes it away. Like saying, no, don't want it. Ew. Ew, no. And so the idea there, and also like the way Grace is like runs after the ball whenever like Molly throws it in the other direction, like a dog. That's a little cornball and hokey. The subplot of the episode involved. See, because there's almost a balance here. Certain parts work, other parts don't, and then the subplot itself it's not god awful, but it's bad. It involves the guys are too lazy to get off the couch to get snacks on the other side of the room or get food on the other side of the room. So they resort to trying to find ways not to have to leave the couch. One way they do it is Nelson gets them each like feeding packs with wheat or grain in them. And so they eat like horses. Then we get to, then Nelson ends up building a machine which fires snacks. And eventually this machine ends up malfunctioning and firing them in a rapid pace in which it's almost lethal. It's hokey. Although I admit, the one funny thing which didn't make a lot of sense was they end up in the gym sitting on the couch, and you're wondering to yourself, how did they leave the couch and yet still get to the gym with it? How'd they not leave the couch and yet end up in the gym with it? They like pay somebody to tow them over? Because you're so into it, that's what you probably think they did. Or you wouldn't be surprised if they did. So not a lot much more to say about this one. I mean, it's very hit and miss, this one. A lot of the series has been very hit and miss, but it's going to find a vast improvement in a few episodes as the series nears its end. So, peace out, you guys. Take care. Until next time. Next time.